Welcome to this daily guided meditation practice. This is the Attentive Mind. My name is Nathan, and I'll be guiding you through this meditation practice today. Find yourself a seated position. You want to find a position that is both sturdy and comfortable. You want to be stable because you want to feel the sense of being here and not about to get up and go do something else. The sense of stability really helps with being grounded here in this moment. You also don't want to be uncomfortable because then you'll be distracted by your body. And being distracted by your body just makes it a little more difficult to notice this moment as it is. So just find what works for you. You can sit in a chair, you can lie down, just find what works for you. We also keep our eyes open during this practice. But if you have learned to practice with your eyes closed and you feel more comfortable doing so, feel free to do so. There are no hindrances here. But if your eyes are open, go ahead and just drop your gaze away from the screen and drop it below you. Kind of looking at the floor, the desk, or whatever is just below you. We're not staring or analyzing anything, but we're also not zoned out and blurry. We have a gentle gaze directed softly and clearly downwards. You're in a nice, comfortable, and sturdy position, and your eyes are either closed or open. Gaze gently and softly downwards. What is here when there are no problems to be solved? What is here when there are no problems to be solved? There's nowhere to go, nothing to do, and no one to become. What's left? And this is not a question for your thoughts. This isn't something to figure out. This is a question to point you towards the experience of this moment. This is why when we sit down and think of meditation as a practice, it can be useful in the beginning, but ultimately, there really isn't a practice here. There's not an attaining or a bettering, really. There's just this. This moment doesn't care about your ideas. and it doesn't exist because of them. So there's nothing really to do. Nowhere to go, and no one to become. But of course, thinking gets in the way. And our identification with thoughts make us believe that there's something to get done, something to achieve, something to attain. So when we have this confusion, it's very useful to just learn to leave our thoughts alone, because they're not helpful here. They're not needed. We don't shut them off or quiet them. We just leave them alone. And to do this, bring your attention to the coming and going sensations of the breath. Just notice the feeling of the in-breath and the out-breath as it gently rises and falls. Stay here and see if you can cease to be distracted by your thoughts and remain with breathing. And chances are I'm probably catching you in the middle of a thought right now. And notice how the whole project of remaining with the breath can seemingly completely disappear because you were thinking about dinner or a TV show or what you're going to do with the house later. This is a habit. So when we notice this, that we're lost in thought, just gently return to the breath. Not forcefully. In fact, see if you can return to the breath with zero effort. Just noticing it lightly rising and falling. Come back. Come back to breathing. We don't have to have our thoughts to be quiet in order for us to notice the breath. We notice breathing as thinking happens. Just don't follow it. Stay with breathing. Wake up. Wake up from thinking. Return to breathing, rising and falling. This moment is already here. You can't get away from it. But if we don't notice where our life is, our lives become thin. Just notice this moment and completely rest. Rest as if there's absolutely nothing to do. Rest as if this is the final moment. All right, you can look at the screen. I do talk about this a lot. Practice. Because it is a practice. But there's a paradox here. Meditation, which is a bad word, is a practice really for us in the beginning, when our whole lives are about doing things, getting things done. I need to do this, and if I'm going to show up daily, it's got to be a practice. If I'm going to do yoga, it's my yoga practice. I got to practice piano. I'm going to practice to get better at it, and to a sense that is true. And to the sense that that is true, it's to your capacity to learn how to leave thinking alone. That becomes a skill. That becomes a practice. Because we're so habituated to our thoughts that we identify with them. We think that those are mine. I'm thinking, right? You're thinking. But we don't see that thoughts happen by themselves. And you can't just hear me say, hey, you're not your thoughts. Thoughts happen by themselves. By the way, it's actually no help to you unless you see it clearly. You have to see it for yourself. And so when we sit down and every single day here, most days when we just do breathing practice, we take our attention away from the mind, away from thinking, down to the breath. Down to the breath, right? So I say it like that, up here, down there. But we do this in order to just develop the capacity to not be bamboozled and captured by thinking all the time, which is a great benefit. And if you stop there, that's great. But I wouldn't call it a true practice. I wouldn't call it the real purchase of practice. Real practice is when the practice stops, when there's a fundamental recognition that this center, this I, me, that we feel to be, isn't real. And because of that, there's nothing to do a practice. There's only this, and that's saying too much. There's no up here and down here. There's no inside, no outside. All of that is seen through, because thinking is dual. So the world we are thinking about isn't the world as it is. It's like the difference between a map and a territory. Most of us are obsessed with the map and we barely understand the territory. The territory is before thinking. The territory doesn't need to be cultivated. This moment is already here, right? So there's nothing to do. And a true practice, one who has woken up to this, woken up, there is no I, there is no center here. There's no that and this. That's all thought. There's a fundamental realization that you just wake up from this dream all of a sudden, this dream of what we call the world. And I know this may sound woo-woo, but we all kind of have this experience once in a while when we, say, watch a movie and we get lost in it, or when we're playing piano or a musical instrument, goodness, or if we're in a sport and we're in the flow state, so-called. There's no distinction between I and that. It's just right here, boom, 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 boom. It's better than that. So true practice isn't a practice. It's coming back to what already is, which is always now. And that's saying too much. But don't worry if you don't understand. If you don't understand, it's because you're trying to do it with this. You're trying to think about it. So leave it. Learn to leave thinking alone. Learn to leave thinking alone. Come back to breathing. Leave thinking alone. That is the practice. That's the beginning. True practice begins when that is natural. Thank you for showing up today. And as always and without exception, I'll see you tomorrow.